And after I play my commercial, I will be back with my man all the way from Modesto, California, my man Bob. So y'all hold tight. That's right. We're on live. We're gonna get this thing done one way or another. What's up to y'all? What's up? Are you looking for a YouTube channel where you can learn a great deal about what it's like to be visually impaired? Well, look no further, because Third Eye Visions is for you. Go to the YouTube channel, put in the search bar 3RD EYE Visions/Anthony. That's Third Eye Visions/Anthony, and you will find all the videos that will be very educational and worth watching. Okay.
Good to go.
Got the music going. You hear the music?
Sure can.
Okay. Hold tight. Got that. One more thing. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Third Eye Visions, where we motivate the blind, stimulate your mind. And boy, are we going to stimulate your mind today and welcome all kind. Blind father overcome his challenges, parenting against all odds. Please, y'all, and you all have been obliging, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and before this is over, I want to experience some likes, dislikes, whatever you don't like about the show that could be better, whatever. If you want to come on and host, you can do that too. Also comment and then share in that order. I am speaking with Bob. He is a blind father. I definitely want to touch on this because I too am a blind father, as well as the many others who I have had the pleasure of speaking. The latest being Tim McCarthy. What's up, Tim? Today it's Bob's show. So with that being said, Bob, I want to welcome you to the show. We're going to chit chat for a second. How things been going?
Going pretty good. How about yourself?
Bob, is that the best you can do? What's up, Bob?
Hey, life is crazy, man. You know, take care of these two boys and living life. I re-entered school back in January, majoring in psychology. And so just living life and taking care of my boys.
Okay. How's the weather out there in Modesto?
Currently, it is in the 70s. I don't remember what the temperature is going to be today, but it was pretty close to 100 yesterday. So pretty warm.
Okay. Okay, before I go further, I want you to say what's up to Aletha Donaldson. She has a YouTube channel, and I want, she hosts with me from time to time. So say what's up to Aletha. She's going to be listening in on it.
Hi there, Aletha. Actually subscribed to your channel the other day, so I'm looking forward to seeing your content.
Bob is so low key, Aletha, so we got to do something to rear that energy. He said, "Oh, I know what it is, Aletha. He hasn't had his coffee. I had asked him if he wanted to go get some. He said, "No, he just got through walking a 5-mile. What was it? Within your area? You have
yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Bob, like I do all my guests and guestesses. First of all, tell me or tell us both how much sight you have. How much have you lost? Are you totally blind? And what caused it, if you don't mind sharing that with us?
Not a problem. So I was born with a condition known as microphthalmia, which means that my eyeballs never fully developed to a normal size. And I have absolutely no usable vision in my left eye. Whenever I'm talking to kids, they're like, "Can you see anything?" And I tell them, in my left eye, I can look at the sun and not see it. The left eye is just along for the ride. My right eye, my visual acuity is 20/1000, so not a whole lot. I can see colors and structures and things, but I guess the best way I could describe it is I could look at a stop sign, but I would only see red and I wouldn't see the lettering.
Okay, and I was typing. So, did you name the type of eye condition you have? You said.
Yes, yes.
Can you repeat it for me one more time? Because
It's no worries. It's called microphthalmia.
and for those who are uneducated as to what that is, like myself, tell them what it is in
Hmm.
your terms or the.
So essentially, it just means that I was born with eyes that didn't fully develop, so they're not normal sized eyeballs from what I was from what my understanding is.
Okay, great, Dr. Bob. So you said you're in school or you're taking up some classes?
I am this summer actually. I took two history classes at the same time in the month of May and covered those in 7 weeks. And in the fall, I'll be taking a full load as well as taking care of the distance learning with my kids. That's another subject altogether.
Definitely. So a full load, you're taking care of all that, making sure your house is straight, building
Yep.
probably, Bob the Builder, doing all that. That's great, man. As I mentioned, the title is A Blind Father Overcoming His Disabilities, Parenting Against All Odds, and you definitely are doing that. You are a father, and how many kids do you have?
Yes. I have two boys, and they are 8 and 11 years old.
Okay, 8 and 11, you said.
Yes.
Uh-oh, they're at that age. Um, Personally, let me know if I'm in getting into your business. Do
Oh,
they
you're
stay?
good. You're good.
They all stay with you?
Yes, they're with me on a full-time basis.
Okay, cool. So tell us, tell me, tell everyone, uh, and you can take your time. What is it uh, in the day, life in the day of a blind father? Tell what do you have to do for as a blind father, and then we'll get further into your story and whatnot. I mean, you get up in the
Well,
morning, clean.
hmm
What you got to do?
I take care of the home before the lockdowns hit. I would get them ready for school. During the summers are pretty lax. I'll typically try to find things to do. Things have changed obviously here in 2020, but normally I would plan out some bus trips. There's a pretty reasonable transportation system out here in Modesto in the surrounding area. And I have a membership at a gym, so we would go over there typically during the summer and go swimming and stuff like that. Preparing meals. I try to teach them to be independent as well. And they don't have any vision problems. So I'm a single blind dad of sighted boys. So that's an interesting place to be in.
Definitely.
um, so meal preparation, education, helping them with their homework, um, and just trying to teach them to be gentlemen.
All right. Cool. Seems like you're on the path of doing that very well. Before I move forward, what do you want people to know first as being a father, then secondly as being a blind father? What are the things that you want them to know and want to get out of this interview?
As far as being a father, I would say that role is seriously undermined these days, and you know, anyone who's in the position of a dad to take it seriously. I grew up with a dad who wasn't really around, and from what I understand, he really changed after the Vietnam War.
Mm,
And it's fatherhood is it's a very crucial role that's really taken for granted by a lot of men. And
that's true.
so to the dads out there, be there for your kids. Society kind of gets us to thinking that we need to be away 24/7, and taking care of the family is, it is important, but being there for the kids is even more crucial than that. And
Okay.
then, for blind parents out there, um, all I can say is whether you're a dad or a mom, um, unfortunately, there's a lot of negativity out there and people saying you can't do it, you can't do it. I mean, I grew up hearing that stuff, and there were some positive influences in my life when I was younger, but there were also some very negative ones. And all I can say is don't let others tell you you can't. Just use those words to, propel you to prove them wrong.
Okay, I like that. Do you want to mention a couple of the positive influence or the people who are very influential in your life growing up? You can shout them out
You
if you want.
know, my grandma, she actually passed away some 20 years ago. Was a huge influence. My mom, she, a lot of respect for her. She was a single mom of four, and she dealt with some really hard circumstances. She didn't really know, you know, all too well how to deal with me because I was the only one in the family. I was the chosen one when it came to
Mhm.
blindness. But she tried, and uh, there's also a man. I was in a Big Brothers Big Sisters program, and my big brother Matt, when I was a kid, he was a huge encouragement to me. And there are several others I could go on, but I'm grateful for everyone that
Well,
invested in me.
okay. Seems like it's turning out to be pretty good, man, because you're handling your business, man. Well, let me, before I go further, I'm definitely proud of you, man, and proud of all the fathers, for one, and all the blind fathers, all the fathers who are impaired. I kind of don't like using the word disabled, but I'm proud of everyone who's stepping up to the plate. Now, you said your kids are 8 and 11 years of age, right?
You got it.
At what point did they realize that their dad is visually impaired, and how was that situation like? Because I'm quite sure there were a lot of questions that they asked. So tell the audience what it was like.
I think it was at a pretty young age for them, maybe 2 or 3. When they started learning words, and um, they they would try to point at something for me, and I couldn't see them pointing, and so I'd pick them up and I'd say, here, show me, and they would eventually kind of just grab my hand and show me what they were looking at, since they didn't know how to communicate it. And so they, just like I, have to adapt. And I've been blind all my life, but there's always situations that I have to adapt to. They ended up learning to adapt to it as well, in good ways and bad ways, because being kids, some kids like to try to get away with stuff.
And
But they
that's what
usually
I was
get caught. They
asking.
usually get caught.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Have they tried to? Let me back up. So they realized that you were blind. So were there any questions that they asked? Because my little boy, he's 6, so he's finally realizing. I think he realized at 5, and he bounced in and out of reality about me being visually impaired. But this is not about me. But were there any questions that they ask you in terms of why you can't do anything that along the visual realm? Like,
So they, when I would take them out walking, they would ask me, what the light colors meant and stuff, and I know what colors are, but I can't see the stoplight, so I'd explain those things to them. They'd ask me about, why I use a cane, and so what I did was I just kind of had them close their eyes and hold the cane and put it in front of them, and just tell them to walk. And I would explain to them, it was an instrument that I used to see what was in front of me when I walked, so that I could be out and get around. Um, but they never really asked any questions too much deeper than that.
okay.
They just learned to adapt, and we worked together. I mean, I've been on my own with them ever since, like, they were 3 and 5, and so it's just been a learning process for all of us going forward.
So when that was the case, when they were asking you questions that you kind of like, had to describe, and when I did it, it point to feel like, man, I wish I could see so that I wouldn't have to go through this, or I wish I could see so that I can basically, you know, just not have to deal with actually being a blind father, or was it at the time you just like accepted and like knew that this was the case and just did what you have to do?
You
How
know,
did you feel?
there there were points at which I wished I could see, especially when it comes to driving. Like lately these days, I still do. I wish I could drive, because I would the three of us would be up by the ocean somewhere or in the mountains, one of those two places. But other than that, it was something that I learned to accept through time, and just learn to adapt with it. Learn to use the bus system around here so that they're not cooped up. When I became a single dad, I figured out ways to take them to the park, and just kept on their heels, but let them go play in the park and be kids like they need to be. It takes taking a deep breath and being like, okay, you know I can either keep them boxed up, or I'm going to figure out a way to do this thing. And I wanted to figure out a way to do this thing, so that's a daily process, figuring out how to do this thing.
And that's important. And that you must have been reading my mind and notes. Give off the top of your head. Give the potential fathers, or fathers who are dealing with this being visually impaired or being impaired in whatever way, shape, or form. Some tips that you have conjured over your lifetime that could help them, in terms of making things better. As far as fathers, they want to be involved with their kids as far as sports and athletics and things like that at a young age. So give them some tips that you use in order to still, be visually impaired but still able to interact with your children.
So as my boys, became older and they learned to talk and things, I set up a system with them when we went to the park where, if I didn't know where they were, and I would be listening, people say they're watching like a hawk, you
Mm.
know, I'd be listening like one, and I just developed a system with them, because I wanted them to play freely, I wanted them to be able to have fun, and so basically what I did was I taught them, I taught them about stranger danger and stuff like that. I taught them some self-defense techniques as well, um, but I taught them that when I would call their name, they were to respond with the word here. And so what I would do is when I would go to the park, I would test them. I'd say, okay, I would sit down and tell them the rules. And it's really good to have a good system of rules, especially when you're out and about, because unfortunately there are some interesting people in this world.
Hmm.
Um, but I would go over the rules and I'd say, uh, when I say your name, what do you say? And they'd say here. And so I taught them that they really needed to shout it out. Um, you know, and I always, if they sounded like they were too far away, I would call them back. I know some people will place bells like on their shoes and things
Hmm.
like that. That's another method. When they're really young, and there are different opinions about this, but when especially my youngest was a runner. Um, oh man, was he a runner? And so I would take them out on walks when he was like 2 years old, and I had this little like, it was a thing that went on his back, and it was a stuffed monkey, and it was a harness. And there are different points of opinion on that. I've had people in the sighted community back then, and they were like, "Well, you're treating him like a dog," and I said, "No, I'm doing what I have to do to make sure that he learns to walk with his dad, and so he doesn't get hit by a car, because unfortunately there are a lot of drivers out there."
Okay.
We could probably do
Which
better than
leads
some of
us
them.
exactly, which leads us to the question of, or the situation that I've heard, and I'm quite sure, I don't know if you probably heard it too, that there have been maybe social workers or doctors at some point in time that had suggested that we as blind people, or we as impaired people, shouldn't have any kids because we won't be able to take care of them and whatnot. Have you heard that before?
I have, I definitely have my uh, place of opinion on that.
Well,
Um,
I need your opinion. This is your show, so give me
yep,
what you
yep.
got. Go ahead.
Number one, there are non-disabled parents whose kids are in horrible homes, and there are these parents that they won't take care of their kids. They don't watch them, and they wind up going into the foster system. They are fully sighted, they are fully able-bodied, but they made some bad choices.
Mm.
Number two, while on the bus with my kids, I've had adults who were talking in a very mocking manner. You're blind. How do you have kids?
Mm.
Um, the thing is, there's this stigma in the blind community that because our eyes don't work, that we are not capable individuals, which is the farthest thing from the truth. And I'm not trying to boast on myself, but this is the way it goes.
You
I
better.
worked hard. I worked hard in high school. All right, I graduated with a 3.96, and I worked my butt off for that. Um, and then my first associate's degree was in computer information systems,
Mm.
and I earned that degree with honors. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm back in school, going in for psychology. Finding help for myself, and then taking that and being able to help other people. And empathy goes a long way in that field. But the fact of the matter is that the blindness isn't a factor. The reason it's a factor is because other people make it a factor.
Right. That's true.
And it starts when you're a kid, and the parents have that ability to mold or to break somebody by their words. And it starts out with either you can or you can't. And that word can't, my boys will say, I can't do that. And I'll tell them I can do it with my eyes closed. There's no excuse why you can't. And, don't try to be tough on them, but I want them to be independent. And the blindness isn't a factor. I totally disagree with anybody who says that a blind person can't be a parent. I've been pretty much, with a few exceptions, I've been by myself with my boys for over 5 years. And guess what? I mean, they're alive, they're healthy, they're happy, they are pretty independent, they know how to take care of themselves. That doesn't come from nowhere. So, non-functioning eyes that's not a factor.
Okay. Definitely. I had to stop my little boy for a second. So, because
No worries.
that was my first time ever hearing something of this magnitude, and it just like shocked me because it has. And then they ask questions, like, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I'll focus on this for a second. They ask questions, how did you become, how did you have kids, or that kind of stuff, as if you have to have sight to have sex. So
Exactly.
I'm saying, so come on, people,
Exactly.
So with that being said, on a scale from 1 to 10, and be honest, 10 being the most difficult, how would you rate being we'll just stick with being a blind father, and why would you choose that number?
Honestly, for me, I'd have to say maybe a 4. I don't find it to be a difficult job being a father. I hate the single part of it. Didn't sign up for that. That's the difficult part. Being a dad, I love being a dad. I get to be what I didn't have, and spending time with my boys. I mean, that's what life's about. The hardest part about being a blind parent is dealing with other people who don't understand blindness. And there are two different groups of people there. There's some who want to criticize, and there's others who want to learn. And the ones who want to learn, I'm more than open to talk with them and to educate and help however I can. But I don't find it being difficult being a dad. I've learned to adapt throughout my life. And yeah, I think that the single part of it is harder than being the parent.
Okay, I'm glad you pointed out what you consider it as being hardest, and because I believe in just keeping it real and saying,
Yeah, for sure.
because everything's not hunky dory. Because I mean, we all would like to have our sight, not just for parenting purposes,
Absolutely.
but for other things as well. So in essence, what is easy about it? I mean, just as far as being a father, a single father, what do you consider the easy part?
I've learned to work with my boys, and we've developed systems, and they're fairly independent. I mean, they can make their own breakfast. I've taught them how to do some cooking and stuff like that. We have meals together, obviously, at the table and things. But I don't know. I find it easy all around. The I guess the hard part is when they're sick. I've learned ways to work with that. I have a talking thermometer that kind of takes a reading by scanning the forehead, and so I mean, with technology out there, I have some friends who are nurses who, if there may be something visually wrong, I can contact them and say, hey, can we do a video call? But I mean, there are workarounds for everything,
Okay,
and
yep.
technology opens up so many doors. So the hardest part is just I don't know. I find it relatively easy all around. So
Okay.
now I have a knock on my door.
Okay, I understand that.
Just
Well,
just just a minute, okay?
okay. Yeah, we're speaking with
I'm not sure.
Bob. Also, we're going to
I
give
don't know,
him.
baby.
We're going to give his YouTube channel before we conclude. But of course, I'm glad you all have stayed with us this long. For blind fathers overcome his disability, parenting against all odds. As we sum this thing up, Bob, because we both have kids at home, we're taking care. Give us some pointers. Give us some. So you just basically summarize the whole thing for us as far as being a blind father, and give them the name of your YouTube channel. Sorry, I forgot in the end, but plug your YouTube channel and what have you. Go ahead.
So my YouTube channel is Blind Dad Life, and you can look me up on there under Blind Dad Life. And as far as just some advice and things like that, number one, just love your kids. That's the first step, because if love isn't just saying I love you. That's something that's done very lightly these days. But loving is action. It means, staying with them through the hard times, through the good times. There are going to be days when, your kids are going to make you want to go crazy. That's kind of what parenting is all about. There are crazy days,
Yep.
but the one of the best things that I can say is, you know, make sure to invest in their childhoods, help them to grow up with good memories, try to do your best to make sure that the good memories outweigh the bad ones. Because as crazy as our world is, our kids, regardless of whether you're blind or have another disability or not, our kids need good memories to grow up with, to look back on, and to propel them into their futures. And so we have the opportunity and the privilege to create those memories for them and to give them as good of lives as we can. It's not always about money. It's about what you invest in them on a day-to-day
True.
basis.
That's true. Well, Bob, you have summarized this. You have done a great. I enjoyed this interview. You summarized this to the T, and I know everything is going to be all right with you. I love the fact that you are a positive individual, and that goes to everyone who's doing something in their child's lives, man. I mean, they're very impressionable at this time, so definitely do what you can. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for subscribing. Go subscribe to Blind Dads. Give it to them again. Pardon me.
Blind Dad Life.
Spell it out. Spell the whole thing.
No worries. It's BlindDadLife.
Okay, Blind Dad Life. Okay, cool. Y'all go
Yes.
subscribe to. I'm telling y'all gonna see how he actually interacts with his children. Probably some tips, tricks, whatever it is in the realm of fatherhood, man. I want to thank you for coming on Third Eye Visions, man, and this is all on Facebook, so you definitely can view it there, and we'll have you and share it, y'all. With that being said, I'm gonna get ready to move on. My little boy wants to take a bath after I put on some clothes for him. So, man, thanks
All
again for
right.
coming on the show. If there's anything else I can do for you, man, feel free to hit me up, man, for real.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you, man, and take it easy.
Likewise. You too.
Okay.
All right.
All
Bye.
right.